So somebody was specifically making a video on this. Grace Highland specifically did a short, um, basically shaming a guy for saying that he would rather have sex with Buck Angel over Hunter Schafer. Now, I do not get why people use, first off, gay as a way to shame people or to shame their sexualities, as if they can change their sexualities. If he prefers Book Angel over Hunter Shaver, that's just his sexuality. And honestly, looking at Book Angel in his uh, prime, in his most fertile years, basically, because we all know that I don't know if everyone knows, but Buck Angel transitioned after about 29 years of age or so. Anyway, my point is that it's weird that people try and act like saying that the guy should be attracted to this or that. It's not your business or your place to be telling people who they should be attracted to. But on this, to me, it's like obviously Hunter Schafer to me looks very masculine. And I don't mean this to degrade Hunter Schafer or to degrade Buck Angel. To me, Buck Angel in his prime specifically looks very, you know, viable, okay, for a heterosexual man to be attracted to in his prime, okay? And Hunter Schafer looks very much the same for a heterosexual woman. The reason why, to me, I notice more in Hunter Schafer is look at Hunter Schafer's legs, for one. That's just to start with. Hunter Schafer's legs, for example, and basically proportions are that of a male individual. Um, the legs are very long compared to the torso. Most men and most male people have very long legs in comparison to their torsos. This is why when you see trans women stand up, you still see what male people have because they cannot remove the proportions. Which, if you are a female who is attracted to the proportions of male people instead of female people, as a heterosexual, many of us are attracted to the bone structure. The reason why we're attracted to the bone structure goes down to heterosexuality in itself. Heterosexuality in itself is based mainly on reproduction, the impetus of it, the reason for it, the motivation of heterosexuality goes straight down to reproduction. And this is just how it is. A lot of people have issues with this as if like they can change heterosexuals and make heterosexuals attracted to different things by shaming us. Only people who can be changed into this are people who are not really actually heterosexual, in my opinion, in that concept of heterosexuality. If you do not have a sexuality that is actually based on being attracted to someone of the opposite sex, for the reason why people are heterosexual is for reproductive purposes, not specifically that we all just run around wanting to get pregnant or to impregnate people, but the focal point and the reason for attraction to the opposite sex is reproduction. And you could see this with heterosexual men. It is revolved around ovulation. Men can determine and detect when a woman is ovulating or when she's on her period because of the basis of finding women more attractive when they're ovulating. And this can be based on simply a woman's voice. It's that simple. It's that it's that small of a thing. An attractive voice is more geared towards when a woman is ovulating. So understand that specifically for men, they generally, for heterosexual people in general, um, they generally will have a focal point on, you know, the biological sex of the person. Obviously, a heterosexual man is going to find that he cannot reproduce with Hunter Schafer. He can reproduce with Buck Angel. He can reproduce with Buck Angel before Buck Angel's transition and after Buck Angel's transition. Understand that Buck Angel himself was ovulating when he was a trans man when he was younger. Nowadays Buck Angel is a lot older now. So, you know, and plus Buck Angel had a hysterectomy. But the point is that Buck Angel ovulated while being a trans man. And you mean to tell me you think that men are going to be able to, were heterosexual, were able to not obviously on actions, but something that one cannot control, there's still some sense of attraction there. You get what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that it can be outside of looks, basically, that someone can still find a sense of attraction more to someone who is biologically a female as opposed to someone who is not a biological female. Someone who is not biologically the opposite sex is not reproductively viable. Therefore, for heterosexuals, it is not an option. There are plenty of heterosexuals who will go with very ugly, unattractive people of the opposite sex, and they're happy as a clam. They would never even think to choose somebody who is of the same sex. You saying that specifically, basically, someone looks less attractive and less feminine is not going to specifically mean that there's still more of an option than someone who is attractive of the same sex. You get my point? So I'm just saying, with you saying that someone specifically saying they would prefer someone of the female sex who has identified as a man, more so than someone who specifically is biologically a male who they cannot reproduce with, which goes against their own sexuality. Because with heterosexuality, it is based on reproduction. And like I said, studies have even proven that men they will be able to even detect when a woman is ovulating based off of her voice because of the fact that their focal attraction is to the ovulation of a woman, the fertility of a woman. And for heterosexual women, most of our attraction focuses on the fertility of the man or the male person, basically. And that's why, to me, it's like weird how transgender people will try and dictate who you're supposed to be attracted to, not understand your sexuality as a heterosexual person and what it's based on and what studies have proven it to be based on for centuries. And also, on top of all of this, is the fact that, you're trying to gay shame someone. You're trying to say someone's gay because they're attracted to someone of the opposite sex. Because Buck Angel, now in Buck Angel's prime as a biological woman, living as a woman at the time, has always been the opposite sex of a male person, regardless of the medication that Buck Angel has been taking. So to me, it's kind of like weird. You're saying someone would rather have sex with someone who is female than someone who is biologically the same sex as them. is gay, you're just trying to shame them into being with you. And that is desperation on an extreme level. And I don't think you need to be on that level, because there are plenty of people who love trans women. So you don't have to shame men who are not into trans women into being with you, because they're probably most likely never going to be into you anyway, because that's just not their nature. And you need to accept people's sexuality as it is. It's not to hurt transgender people's feelings to say that you would prefer someone who is biologically female over someone who is not. It is just saying that's how your sexuality is. At worst case scenario, that man's sexuality would allow him to be with someone who is a masculine female over someone who is a feminine male. People sometimes don't care if someone is feminine or masculine. Some people do, some people don't. I am of that camp that doesn't really care if a man is masculine or feminine, or a male person is masculine or feminine. I have been attracted to people who are non-gender conforming, non-binary, trans women, men, doesn't really matter. It's for heterosexuality, your attraction is based on their sex and their viability to your sex reproductively, basically. And also, on top of all that, I mean, like, if you really think of it, it's not really that people are specifically like trying to be hateful to anyone, you know. Most of the time, it's just reality. Like, the idea of heterosexuality and homosexuality. Homosexuality is sex between two people of the same sex, and it cannot produce children. You cannot produce pregnancies with someone you are having sex with that is a homosexual interaction. So you cannot say someone who is with someone of the opposite sex, a man with someone who is female, regardless of if they identify as a female or if they identify as a man or a woman. The fact that they can get pregnant and make a pregnancy together implies that that is heterosexual, because you can't say that pregnancy comes from homosexual sex, because it doesn't come from homosexual sex. It comes from heterosexual sex. And that's not hateful to homosexual people. That's a plus. That's a thing that a lot of people like about homosexual sex. Because, unplanned pregnancies and all the problems that come with pregnancy that people, don't always want. So this is not a dig at homosexuals, but it's just a fact. So knowing that, you have to understand that obviously for heterosexual people, to explain just a little further, heterosexual people, men and women, on a reproductive level, on a base level, think of it this way: a male heterosexual person will be attracted to people they can reproduce with and impregnate. So they impregnate, and they need someone who can get pregnant, basically. That's how the sexuality works. Now, like I said, it's not like we run around wanting to impregnate, but that is the desire, and that is the impetus, and that is the motivation. So basically, a trans woman like Hunter Schafer, you cannot impregnate, but you can, obviously, you particularly can impregnate someone like Buck Angel, or any male person can, for that matter. But I was just saying, for the person in question that we were talking about, that man can impregnate Buck Angel, any female, and who has has ovaries, uterus, and vagina, and everything. I'm not saying in this day and age. I'm saying when Buck Angel was in their prime, his prime. But my whole point is you specifically saying that, heterosexuality has to revolve around something that makes you comfortable is not how it works at the end of the day. We have seen studies of, like what I said, where heterosexuality is shown to be revolving around reproduction. And heterosexual men cannot reproduce with Hunter Schafer. That man cannot reproduce with Hunter Schafer. That man can reproduce with a masculine woman and can reproduce with a trans man, can reproduce with Buck Angel, can reproduce with anyone who is female. So therefore, they're going to prefer someone who they can impregnate because that is just in their sexuality. It's literally ingrained in their sexuality, period, and in our sexuality to look for a partner who is reproductively viable for us, and that's what we're attracted to. So that's why we will not be attracted to someone of the same sex who identifies as a man or a woman, but we will only be attracted to people of our opposite sex. And I wanted to also point out that lastly, he did not say that was his preference. He just said over someone of his own sex, period. I would say that honestly, I think all heterosexuals would prefer pretty much all of the opposite sex over the same sex, period. That's what the whole preference thing comes from, period. Even the ugly people of the opposite sex are more attractive than the people of the same sex, period. And it doesn't matter if people of the same sex wear very traditionally masculine or feminine clothing, period. It's about the person underneath the clothing, period. Who the heck is attracted to clothing around here? I don't know. I know that doesn't have to do with heterosexuality, in my opinion. I don't think that has to do with heterosexuality, what clothing you wear. But anyway, that's all I have to say in this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe, comment down below, and have a great day. Bye, guys.